myself ashore for so long, for so long. Listening to the strangest stories, wondering where it all went wrong for so long, for so long. But hold on to what you got. Said hold on to what you got. Dreaming of a new tomorrow, awaking in the morning sun for so long, for so long. There's no time for revolution. I've got to be traveling on, yeah, so long, so long.
Yeah, for so long indeed, star babies, especially us Pleiadian ones, right? Hi, this is Rocken Larry Locken with Pleiadian Express Productions. I am at the Larry Locken 1 channel at Pleiadian Express Productions /YouTube. We are in association, of course, with the Larry Locken 2 channel at the Pleiadian Light Grid Project /YouTube. We'll get into where else you can find me a little bit later on, but I wanted to get into this thing that has really been, well, it's been on my mind for years, way before my awakening even, but I always thought that there was nobody else out there like me, that thought like I did, that looked at life the way that I did, or even close, you know. I'd find some people that I'd resonate with once in a while, but still, it was just like I thought, man, it doesn't seem like you get it, or at least maybe I don't get it, maybe I'm crazy. But when I had my awakening and found a lot of groups on Facebook, I started to find people that, you know, at the very least, they were like 80% in sync with what I was thinking on everything. And a lot of that 20% that at most we weren't in sync with, we still really were, because it was just a matter of 3D circumstances that I wouldn't say we differed, but just because of a little bit of different variations on our experiences, you know, there might have been that 20% gap, but a lot of people it was 95%, you know, complete resonance with, some of them 100 even, you know. But it was just amazing to go from people at the most where you maybe had a 30-40% resonance with, and that would be an extreme case, to meeting people where I mean, at the very minimum, it was like 80, you know. So it was just incredible, but lonely, very lonely is a way to describe starseeds. You know, I'm not, if you're awake, and I'm not by any stretch the first person that's brought this up as far as documenting it. I'm talking about it on air, whatever, you know, in a channeling, in a video, not even close. I think the first one I saw was about 14 or 15 years ago, so. And I've seen plenty since then of people putting it in their own way. But you feel lonely, and it even seems like now, at this stage, we're still separated, a lot of us. I've only met a couple other starseeds in my lifetime, really true ones. I've only known one in real life that I've met in some of these groups. People that I've known for 13 years now, 14 years, that I've never met them in real life. Only one. Only one of them. Some people are lucky and live in bigger areas. You know, it's pretty spread out here in the United States. So it's the few starseeds that I've ran into are not people that I've met through the groups. I've turned a few of them onto the groups, but yeah, I didn't meet them there initially. Just one. That was it. Yep. And she was a pretty important person to me. Still is, actually. Always will be. But you know, that's just kind of how it is. We're kind of stationed at different places, you know, and it seems like growing up, as far as knowing anybody that was similar to us, either we didn't, this is the story I usually get, either we didn't, or it was one friend, or it was maybe a grandmother or something like that, an uncle, an aunt, something like that, you know, somebody related to you like that was, you know, kind of thought the way you did. It's just that, you know, it was probably even worse on them because they came up on Earth a generation even before you did, so, or maybe 2 generations before you did, so, you know, but that'd be it, you know. And then I've met a few lucky people that have had two people in their family that way. And, I wasn't sure if they were just kind of overthinking it a little, but I have to take them at their word. But typically it's either none or one. That's it. And with me, there was one other. Yeah, he was my childhood best friend. Yeah, he is. He, as far as knowing, like the all-knowing that any starseed you'll ever meet has, he definitely is too much for his own good. Has it all over anybody you'd ever meet, but 3D not so much. So it's just very rare. And the loneliness can be a real ass kicker. You know what I mean? Because there's times where we just want that interaction in real life with people. And it just doesn't happen. Most of us came from other planets, and most of us had most of our incarnations on other planets before we came here this time. I'd only been here one other time myself. It was during Atlantis and Lemuria, and I wasn't even from here then. I was from the Pleiades as an ambassador to try to stop that nuclear war between Atlantis and Lemuria. The thing about it is, it's encouraging, though, is that right now, and this has been the case ever since my awakening in 2010, there have been more starseeds here on the planet than there ever has been, right? And it keeps growing and growing and growing. So it really kicked into gear around 2010 with the first one of this wave. They're still going every few years. We have a big wave of them coming in, but people are awakening every day is a thing. What I'm getting at is that every couple years, every 3 years, it seems like there's a big class of them that come in at once. And now it's like been 2 years since the last one and another big one came in. So it's nothing short of just amazing and brilliant. The planet, they always talk about shifts and consciousness shifting, collective shifting. Right now we're in the middle of a big, huge shift for the whole collective, but also at the same time, everybody's going through their own personal one at a hardcore level. There are more people doing it than ever have been before by a large number. So it's helping to kick up the vibration of the planet. So helping to just bump it up. You know what I mean? And that's what it takes. It takes people being aware. It takes people being familiar and just understanding, not wasting a lot of their energy on things that they really cannot help or control, but being aware of that, just placing it, filing away, and being aware of it, And ever since probably the late 50s, 58 or so, people that have been coming in are more and more awakened with every generation. There was a big push in 58, those, and the big first ones started. Now, the first ones came along in 47, after we, in 45, when we dropped those 2 nuclear weapons on Japan, and that kind of ripped a hole in the time-space continuum, so they had to figure out what we were doing down here. So incarnates came, and they came, and they came, and they didn't stop coming, and then one wave thought it was going to be the one to do it, and then they knew they were going to need another one and another one. And that's kind of how it happened. The one before me thought that they were going to be the one to fix it. Nope, we came in. Nope, we couldn't do it either. We figured it out a lot quicker than they did, though, as a collective. Like probably when we were, pre-teenagers, early teenagers, we figured it out and put out the call for another wave to come on in. We needed to be spelled. We're gonna need one more reinforcement down here, okay, and maybe even a little bit of an extra one after that. We'll see. So that's kind of where we're at right now. We put out a call about 87, early 90s. They started being born, and well, they're older now and have been being born for the last, I don't know, 30 years now or so. So that's kind of the way it's going. What you're seeing, though, especially with the generation of kids that are under, I'd say under 30, some as old as 32, they're able to pick up on a lot more. They're all able to communicate whether they're realizing it or not. They're able, and the smart ones do believe it, they realize it. They're able to communicate with each other on a telepathic level more and more. I mean, not just having the same kind of synchronicities like we do, or you were thinking this, well, I was thinking that too, kind of thing. I mean, literally, like, telepathically, they're communicating with each other. Another thing, things that are hard for us down here to deal with, right, is especially for, starseeds that had to grow up during a time when nobody understood anything about it. Cruelty to animals and to other human beings. Our first reaction is to have empathy for that animal, to love that other human being, instead of judging what they did wrong or that they were a problem that needed to be taken care of. Our thoughts are like, how can we help them? God, that's sad that's happening to them. Gosh, this just sucks, because we're a responsive group of people, not a reactive group of people. Okay, and we understand that, things, we just look at it differently. Here's the deal. It's almost hard for me to talk about it because it makes me sad, but two, it's like this. If you get it, you're already going to get it. If you don't get it, you're not going to, chances are, and I'm not going to certainly be able the one to help you get it. That's not, I would try, but, I could try and go have a non-telepathic communication with the moon as well, and, the telepathy thing may work, but it's not going to beam down some big, loud sound, you know what I mean? It's not going to talk to me like that, so that would be about the likelihood of it, okay? People they want people to have to pay for something. And what does it really accomplish in the end to have that done? What, you want to teach them a lesson? Is that what you want to do? Do you really want to teach them a lesson, or do you just want to feel vindicated, right? You just want to feel vindicated. Especially when it's methodically planned out is when it's scary, not just, it's one thing if it's on the spur of the moment, right? It's one thing if, somebody hurt somebody in your family and just as a reaction you took care of business, because that's what us light warriors do too, though. We defend our own. But we don't go premeditate anything, man. If we don't get it in the moment, we don't get it in the moment. We have a time to cool down a little bit, think about it, and understand that that's okay, that we do it that way. I think a lot of us have been put under pressure before and made to feel like we got to be an adult about it. We got to be a human being about it and do the right thing and make somebody pay. And it's like, but that's led to us kind of not speaking up when we've needed to against that kind of mentality. And what that leads is nobody around us knows what we need and want, and it can lead us to having resentment and passive aggressive behaviors too. So how do we deal with that? We either act out, which we shouldn't do, or we, a lot of us, especially in my generation and the one before, we get into using drugs to numb us up, whether it's something come up, something to go down, something to stay all around. Uppers, downers, the movie Up in Smoke said, the cop on there, uppers, downers, quackers, I don't know what he said, it was something funny though. They were asking him what kind of drugs he was looking for in a bust. Uppers, downers, all arounders, speed, smack, yeah, anyway, but anything, you know what I mean. And the thing about it too with the addiction thing, it seems to me, this is what I've found from most starseeds I've talked to that have ever had issues like that, too much is never enough, that's one. A whole shitload of it's never enough, that's two. Yeah, three, you can never really get that wasted on it, The only time you're going to get really, really wasted is when it would be one of those one times where you absolutely could not afford to be. You know what I mean? That would be the one time or the rare time it would happen. Because our minds, our consciousness level is so high. It's so high that it almost works as a detriment against us when it comes to using that stuff. So you got to be really careful, because it's not like we can just get in and get right back out of it, man. Once we get a taste for getting any kind of a relief, any kind of fake relief like that from this world, once we get a taste for it, man, forget it. It's going to be a long road back home, and it is, because we're just looking for something to pass the now moments by, to pass that mundaneness away, the goddamn boredom, the soap operas, the TV shows, I could go on and on and on, the sports, the distract from this, the distract from that, the same old over and over again, so bored you want to cut your eyeballs out with a piece of paper, you should rather chew on tinfoil. It just, yeah, and then once we try to not have that lifestyle again, a lot of us are like, just disillusioned and bummed by life. It's rough, and that's why we have to be careful, because, hey, we can go all night and go a little longer with not only one substance, but multiple ones when we're running like that. And thankfully I've noticed, though, it seems to me that a lot less of the younger ones are having that issue, and I'm really pleased as heck to see that. I think it's wonderful. I think that their increasing consciousness level is part of it, and I think that there's more options nowadays. They're not just stuck with who you knew. When I grew up, hell, the internet didn't even come out until a year after I was out of high school, and you couldn't do shit on it for a couple years, but let a page load for 1 minute so you could read, right? I mean, it was a couple years before you could even watch a video on there, and even then, for another couple, they were grainy. You know what I mean? Until it started the advent of cable modems, or the return of them, from other lifetimes. Pleiadian technology, basically. And I'm going to get into talk about their technology after a while, but not in this particular episode. I thought what I might do is just kind of, touch base with everybody out there and let you know that if you're hearing this, you're so not alone. I can vouch for, hey, look, I can vouch for hundreds of people that have told me this. I could vouch for one person that knows it to be a fact, and you're listening to him, yours truly, Rocken Larry Locken, your host with the most from coast to coast, giving Apollo toast, giving coolness, hotness, and everything you could ever want in this. Yeah, I knew I had to get that in at some point, my old catchphrase, but yeah, we tend to use deflection skills here. Well, we're naturally sarcastic people anyway. So really for us, it's not too much of a deflection, although we can start using it for a deflection, right? And, we use a lot of sarcasm. I mean, I do naturally, but then I'll find myself doing it too much, and like, okay, now that wasn't... It's one thing when it's just off the cuff. When it's off the cuff, it's brilliant. But if you're, coming up with a plot or a way to use it, that's a whole nother story too. But yeah, we feel so self-destructive sometimes, we feel so down that we'll do self-destructive behavior just to kind of pass the time away and get through the moment. We're very creative people overall, and we're very diverse. It doesn't music, architecture, cooking, sports trivia, even political trivia, everything. We're creative as far as the way we break things down, and the way that we're interested in the nuances of things we are. And when we're interested in something, there isn't a thing we don't know or learn about it. In fact, my friends, it's called Pleiadian autism. We know everything about it, yet at the same time, if it's something that bores us or something we just can't get a groove into, it's rough. It's really rough. Terribly rough to get grounded into learning something that has no interest to you. You're talking about going over it 5 times before even conceiving of how it works. And it's just crazy. And all starseeds go through this, right? It seems like Pleiadian ones, though, we're a little bit more in tune with the sensitive side of everything. Right? It's like our senses are heightened, and we're trying to deal with it with having a 3D vessel, and trying to maintain being hooked into this 3D vessel where we cannot run or escape from these feelings. So, it can get kind of rough at times. It really can. It's like treasuring a car that you're not really sure you want, you know what I mean, and having to yet find the enthusiasm to keep it up, to keep all the oil levels up, keep all the fluid levels up, and to, wash it and, act like it's everything to you. It's rough, and it's not something you might want to do. A lot of people have memories when they were children from, a lot of starseeds also have a lot of memories from when they were children of dealing with aliens. I really don't so much, and I don't know. I've got a photographic memory, I do, and so maybe I'm just forgetting about it. I don't know. I do know this, though. I know that I wasn't fully incarnated in here until 1981 when I was 6 years old, and how I know that is because I was at the fair one night with my dad, and I remember I was 6 years old, and I would always fade in and out of realities of where I was, who I was with, the people that were around me, people I didn't even know I'd see, and being in situations with them. And then this hot raindrop, it wasn't even really raining that night, but this thing felt like it was 150 degrees. It hit me on the top of the head, and I'm like, ow, that hurt. And they're like, what? And I said, oh, something hit me on the top of my head, right into my crown chakra. This hot drop hit me. And then it was just fairly sprinkling that night, other words, and it wouldn't have been, your typical drop wouldn't have been burning hot. I don't know I can't even think of anywhere in the tropics where, much less the Pacific Northwest, where the rain is is brimstone hot. No, not like that. It'd be about 3/4 as bad as taking a little bit of a tiny little beaker full of water you just boiled, right? And then dumping it on your crown chakra and seeing how that feels. About 3/4 that hot. It was pretty hot. You know, my cat's meowing here too. He's wanting out. I gotta try to let him out here. But, you know, I just wanted to tell people that you're not alone. And his time, at least now you have the option of talking to people online that are of similar mind as you are. And there's plenty of them out there. There's plenty. And I think as this thing speeds up more and more, you know, there will be somehow, some way where we'll all get to get in tune with each other. Maybe it's something like what I had thought about years ago, like a Pleiadian Woodstock. But nah, that's out of that name of it is out of the question. It just didn't work out for us. We had looked into it, but we're thinking about, me and another lady are thinking about a thing called Galactic Fest. But it would have to be about 8 years in the making. Okay, you know, early 30s probably sometime, because it's going to take a lot. Permits, you know, the area to do it at, but hold some kind of a venue where we have bands, we have food for like maybe, you know, 3 or 4 nights, and there's all kinds of speakers, classes on meditation, telekinesis, channeling, you name it, Reiki, and on and on and on. Experts in every facet of our community, which there are many facets to, but I think that would be wonderful to have something like that happen. You know, I really do. I think it would be beneficial, but there are so many things in 3D to be planned out that something like that would take. Man, I mean, even once you were ready to get the ball rolling, it would take at least, you know, maybe half a decade to put into, you know, to really put into motion. You know what I'm saying? But I think this, even if you're out there and you can't, you would like that to happen, but there's really nothing that you think you could contribute. Like, I mean, let's say you're like, yeah, but gosh, I don't know if I could make it there. I don't know if I'd have the money. I don't know if I have this or that, or what could I actually do? Here's one thing you could do that wouldn't cost you a dime, and it's something that wouldn't even require you to get up out of your chair, really. Now, follow me here. Being aware of it. Be aware of it and focus on it happening. You know, be aware of it, but don't get me twisted here. Don't waste a lot of your energy towards it, like worrying about it. Just put your thought out there that, you know, I hope it happens. And every so often, put that thought out there. And then if you feel the need to, do it more. If not, don't. But just put that intention out there that a meeting like that happens. You know, that an event like that, several days long, and that we're able to get all these great people there to speak, and, you know, everybody can kind of commingle with each other. Yeah, and just, you know, let's manifest that. Let's manifest Galactic Fest. How about this Galactic Fest 32? Yeah. Which, speaking, whoops, whoa, see, I get all excited. Speaking of getting excited, I just received in the mail day before yesterday, excuse me. Time flies, right? It does and it doesn't. I'll explain that in a minute. This book you see right here, Your Higher Power, Accessing Your Divine Gifts, you know, and it's a good thing I've got the title right in front of me, because I must have promoted it on a half a dozen shows. And each time, I don't know what the hell was going on with me. I'd get one word wrong. I'd be like, your higher frequency, your highest power, you know, something like that. And I'd be like, oh, man, what the hell? Yeah, I mean, you know, I know the name of the book like I know my own. So I got it right. You can see the co-authors' names there. If you don't know either of these two, I would suggest you find out quickly who they are on Facebook. Wonderful. They're both going to write more and more books. They might write a few more together. They're each going to write some on their own. Francesca herself has a child's book coming out. Probably will have several of them. And I'm not even going to... You ain't even heard either one of their channelings yet. Phenomenal, both of them. You know, and those are the kind of people that we need. These are people that are not ego-driven. They're all about the cause. And anybody in a 3D reality that was as successful as they are, they should have an ego. I mean, I'm not saying nobody should have an ego, but a bad one anyway. But they would deserve one. They're that good. You know what I mean? They're that knowledgeable. Their work is spot on, and that's just what they do. And I'm proud to see it. And I'm proud to see they wrote a book together. And even the cover of this book, right? The cover of this book is just drop dead Pleiadian, resonating, gorgeous. Totally. That blue rose, yeah, man. Just the cover, everything about it. And I haven't had a chance to start reading it yet. However, I have seen some illustrations in there and some pictures, and I can tell you that if it was, and that's probably just a handful of times I've seen those. So by those and just the cover alone, this is how good the book is going to be. I know it, because just on what I said alone, I'd already put the book top couple in the last, top 5 ever in our cause. Seriously, top 5 ever in the New Age spirituality, whatever you want to call it, multidimensional, extraterrestrial, multi-terrestrial, you know what I mean? Living, loving, learning, light, community, UFO church, and metaphysical center, you know, whatever you want to call our field we're in, Starseeds, light workers, you know, however you want to put it, you know, that's what I feel about the book. And the only thing that it's going to do for me is it's going to help me to think it through a little bit clearer on each issue. It's going to help me to articulate things a little bit better, and maybe pass on some wisdom to some other people that I already knew but couldn't remember that I did know it, you know? So it's definitely worth checking out, and there are 2 people that are definitely for sure worth checking it out. The Galactic Fest idea was a brainstorm of Francesca's and mine. We were talking, it was just completely organic the way the conversation happened. We were talking about, you know, our love for 80s music, I believe it was. And then, you know, she was talking about an event like that, how cool that would be to have an event like this. And I said, you know, it's funny you mentioned that. I tried that once, but it didn't go anywhere. 10 years ago, I started this page called Pleiadian Woodstock. And I showed it to her. I'm like, see, I was thinking the same thing you were. We just couldn't get it quite off the mat then. And maybe the time will be ripe, you know, in the early 30s sometime. So we created the page for it. Doesn't have much on it now, Galactic Fest, but it's, you know, talks about that. And if anybody does come across that, I would encourage you to, you know, help us manifest something like that, so we can have like a, you know, once every 5 years or so, have something like that, like a, you know, a Pleiadian Woodstock, you know what I mean, but Galactic Fest, you know. And I didn't want the word Pleiadian in there this time because, and this is the only why. The word Pleiadian is kind of inclusive in a way. What I mean by that is there's us starseeds that completely resonate with it, and that's fine, we're Pleiadian, but we have a lot of other star brothers and sisters, Arcturus, Procyon, you know, Sirius, Lyra, Vega, I mean, even Orion, which, you know, I have issues with Orion, but that's that. I think they're coming around too. Just all the star systems, and these are just the ones that we talk about. There's Antares, there's Cygnus, there's, I could go on and on and on. And most of these areas probably have some human Earth-like planets on them. You know, it's just a fact of how it is. And a lot of people have mixed star DNA. Mixed starseed DNA from different places. It's not just that they're this or that. They're a combination of this and that, or they're a combination of this and that, or even more so. But it all comes down to this. It does, and I've said this a million times, it all comes back in the Milky Way galaxy to one human race. The first ones here, the Arcturians. Now, there weren't, no, hold on, don't get me wrong, they're not the first human race ever. Somebody seeded them from here. I know that's a fact. We just don't know who yet. What we don't know is who put them here and from what galaxy they were from. And I've thought about this and tried to get the information and channeling for years. Not the closest I ever got was telling me how long the Arcturians have been here, and what they had to go through to create, you know, Lyra and Vega, who actually warred with each other a little bit before they kind of connected. Some families from each of them are the ones that colonized and settled Pleiades during their war with Orion. So all that stuff's pretty much known, but what we don't know is who seeded the Arcturians here a quintillion or so years ago, what human race and from where. Eventually, at some point, I'm going to try to get a star map of the close-by galaxies and seeing if any of the names stick out to me. I haven't done it before yet because maybe I wasn't meant to, but I want to see if any of those names stick out to me, like, man, this could be the parent race of the Arcturian humans. You know, who are human beings like us, you know, a quintillion years ago, in Earth terms, if you were to put it that way. You know, and then they ascended, and they worked with the others till they ascended, and so forth. So everybody's got roots in those 2 star systems, okay? And we are one of the youngest galaxies, and in the whole, in creation. What I've heard is, I've heard some people say we might even be number one. I've heard a lot of people say we're number 2 or 3. But still, out of an infinite number of them, yeah, man, you'd have a hell of a time convincing me that any of this stuff's indigenous to Earth. You really would. A heck of a time. And being a starseed, too, I think is, we get it from both ends. I think that even generations older than us in our, where we're from, or the planets we're from, I don't think that, I think they think we're kind of half crazy for signing up for this. And then people that don't get it, period, think that there's a screw loose with us. So, yeah, it's been brutal. But, you know, knowing each other is half the battle, and, you know, we can get through this. You know, eventually, some creation out of left field is just going to come out of nowhere, and it's going to change the way we do things, whether it's travel, whether it's whatever. And I'm not even talking about teleportation necessarily, okay, although maybe. I'm not so sure I'd want to be the first to try that out, though. I might forget how fun it actually wasn't. Yeah, I don't know. Just, it's really wild, though. And hopefully things just keep on moving along, and more people are going to start awakening, and this consciousness can shift quicker and quicker and quicker till one day, boom, we've ascended as a planet. And it won't be because the planet necessarily went somewhere else and moved away. It's just that the vibration has increased to where, you know, you won't be able to survive if you're under that vibration too well. You know, it's just how it goes. You know, but yeah, that's all I want to say is it's real, you know, it's tough being lonely. I'm alone. I am alone, and I hate it. I mean, I hate to use that word hate, but, you know, I'd love to talk with somebody, you know, in 3D, or even on the phone away from the internet. It'd be really wonderful to do. I know I had, switching gears real quick, I know I had talked about, one of the last shows I had done, I had talked about all these collectives that I started contacting from the Pleiades. I mean, of course, you know the ones that I have been doing for years, the orbs. Orbs are always near and dear to my heart. The rainbow ones and the solid color ones. Been dealing with those out of the 7th dimension from Pleiades for about 13 and, how many years? Let's see. About 13 and a half years now, okay? So, there's them, and there's been other collectives, but what happened a few weeks ago, and I'm not going to get into the whole thing because I talk about it at another show, and then another show even after that. 8 different collectives came my way of human Pleiadians from ascended Earth-like planets that are in Pleiades. Now, they're all, what the difference is, though, besides their consciousness level, is that they're all different colored skinned humans. Like, I mean, rainbow colored. Like, we had a dark blue and a crystal blue one, 2 different ones. Yellow, a green, a purple. Okay, there were them. We also had one that was rainbow in skin color everywhere. It was a rainbow. Their whole skin color was a rainbow. And one that was pure angelic white. Now, the thing with each one of these, too, is that until their inhabitants were in about their early 20s, all they had was like a outline silhouette of that color around their body, around their human color, or whatever would look like a Caucasian body. Yeah, and then as they got older, they started to embody that color as an adult. And who knows, maybe that's the way they tell when a child becomes an adult on those planets. I'll have to ask that. But one thing I didn't talk about was, and I did mention this, okay, so like dreaminess, my channelings over the years have been nothing but pure awakened consciousness every second, telepathy, awake download, except for a few times, and those weren't dreams. Those were just completely out of mind, complete consciousness, nothing else on my mind. I don't even remember being in the moment of any of those, but I know because there's documentation of the work I had done during those times. Okay, so that was 3 times. Never had one in a dream that I knew of. Maybe some of the ideas came through a dream I wasn't aware of, but not that I knew of. So I had one, and it started the whole thing off. It was the first one with one of these collectives. The second one was kind of like a dream too, and then the other 6 were out of my typical way of doing it, okay? So I also astral traveled, and I don't do that very often. I've only done that now twice since I was a kid. I astral traveled to one of these planets that they lived on. Each one of these people had different planets that they lived on, okay? Except for some reason, the Yellow Collective, they were indigenous to two. And, you know, they showed me where they were from, between what of the 9 major stars their planet laid between, or whether it was kind of like with 4 out of the 8 of them, they were from planets that kind of laid right. They had to 3 sides of them, they had almost an equal distance to Astrope, Gaia, or excuse me, Maya, and Taygeta. Okay, and then one of the other 3, or one of the other 4, excuse me, one of the other 4 was to the other side of Taygeta, going down towards, I want to say, Electra, okay, or Caliano. I'll have to go back and listen to it. But I had a chance to astral travel to where they were all having a big conference, you know, representatives from each one of these places. And what I found was pretty interesting as far as what their planet looks like. I gotten a taste of it when I went there to visit with the Pinks, but I was more interested in talking with a representative there instead of getting hung up on what went on. And I'll go ahead and tell you what that was all about.